Welcome to the E-Commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
Josh Chin here. I'm the host of the E-Commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts, entrepreneurs, and shakers in the e-commerce industry, and we go behind the scenes of struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by Chronos Agency. If you run a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand that is ready to scale and double your customer lifetime value through lifecycle marketing, Chronos is your company. We've helped hundreds of brands scale profits with email, SMS, and mobile push marketing while getting an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, The Udi, Alya Skin, and many more. Now, the next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency, or you can go to chronos.agency to learn more. And before introducing today's guest, I want to give a big thank you to Kian Bilzari, good friend. Go check out their website at sourcingwithkian.com. That's sourcingwithkian.com. Kian has an amazing YouTube channel as well. Go check that out. Big thank you to Kian for making this conversation happen with Andrew. Andrew Erickson is a veteran Amazon seller who has generated multiple seven figures in revenue. He's also the host of the very popular, very successful ZonCon podcast, Amazon Conversations podcast for FBA sellers, where he and his guests talk about the tips and tricks to becoming a world-class Amazon millionaire, building a brand on Amazon, finding products, how to source, launch, and grow a successful brand on and off of Amazon. They also talk about building a lifestyle and the entrepreneur mindset. In fact, I've been a guest on the show. It's been an incredible experience. Andrew, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
And let's dive into it. So before, let's talk about your background. You were a software engineer for a long time.
Yep. I went to school for engineering, and then I got a big boy job at a Fortune 100 company. Mm-hmm. And it was nice salary and nice, the 401k and which is the American pension plan and stuff like that. And but it was pretty boring, like sitting in a cubicle all day and feeling like a small part of, small tiny cog in that giant machine. And I always wanted to do something entrepreneurial. And so that's worked on a few things, but finally found something that kind of rang true with the Amazon private label model.
And you started a number of side businesses while having a full-time job and juggling a lot of different things. How do you first found success on Amazon?
I tried a bunch of different things. I mean, I kind of thought I would do something more engineering, And so I tried building a self-driving go-kart at one point. Cool. Which maybe I kind of look back on, maybe that would have been even more fruitful path because it was really hot 10 years ago. I mean, still hot now, but that was kind of the very beginning of it. But yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to build the self-driving something or other. So that didn't really turn into anything. And then I built a couple of apps that were just kind of for fun to learn, but also monetize them. And they were I got, I don't know, 200,000 downloads on them, but they're free apps. So there's not a lot of revenue there that you can quit your day job on. And then finally, I kind of just stumbled into listen to some podcasts and podcasts like this one, right? And just heard about the Amazon private label opportunity and jumped into it and ended up working out really well for me.
And I know that you're a big proponent of having a lifestyle that serves you and having a cash flow business that serves your lifestyle. So tell us a little bit about your little 12-month adventure of traveling and building your business concurrently.
Yeah. So let's see here. I was started on Amazon 6-7 years ago. And I actually ended up first crafting my first product by hand. Literally, I went to the store, bought a bunch of material, and I went into, there's a machine shop I live in San Diego, California. There's a machine shop that's kind of like a gym where you pay a monthly membership to have access to equipment. But instead of workout equipment, it's building equipment, wood
insane.
and metal and 3D printers and other kind of like metal woodworking equipment, right?
Yeah.
And so I ended up I just wanted to make stuff because I like it. And I started building things, and I thought, okay, if I can build a few, but the membership was a little expensive. It was like maybe $150 a month. So it's like enough that I was like, I mean, I can afford it, but also it's kind of expensive. Let me see if I can sell a few things on Etsy before so I can kind of justify it a little bit, right? The cost. And I ended up kind of striking out on something that worked out really well, and ended up selling like 1,000 pieces, which done by yourself is like a lot, like way too much.
Insane. Yeah, handmade.
Yeah, so I ended up hiring people. The first 100 I made myself, handcrafted every little piece, drafted it on a computer, and like freaking nailed it together myself and everything. And then I ended up hiring people in San Diego to make it for me, and I had a whole proper crew of people in my garage, like packaging stuff, and cool. Like lots of stuff going on for that. That was kind of the big Christmas season.
And that was on Etsy.
That was on Etsy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now, when I say thousands, I should step back. On Etsy, I sold about 300 from kind of that Q4 time on my first business. So it was still a lot, but it was I shouldn't say thousands at the beginning, but yeah, 200-300 pieces. And then I was like, oh, I should order thousands in China, because it's way easier. Surprise. It's actually way easier just to like give somebody $10,000 in China and have them do all the work for you than you build a weird little tiny factory using rented equipment and your tiny little condo in downtown San Diego.
Incredible. And how did you end up traveling the world? And you visited a ton of different countries in the matter of 12 months.
So let's jump into that story. Okay, so started building the brand, started building the products, and then it was a hustle though. It was a freaking hustle. It was a lot of work. I didn't pay myself for 3 years. And we were turning a profit, and I was paying more in taxes than I was to myself. The way the tax system here makes it so that that's just how it works here. It's like frustrating. But there's a cool tax hack I have for you later. But built up the business, and then eventually I wanted to go full time, but again, didn't take any salary for 2-3 years. And so I'm kind of building up to that point where I can have enough savings, enough profit, enough revenue, enough like products that it's not so like just jump off the diving board, not knowing if there's water in the pool, right? I want to, there's a little bit of water in the pool before I jump, right? And so the big motivation was my wife is a school teacher. She teaches a Title I school, which Title I means it's like inner city kind of poor. Title I refers to some legal code that they're officially designated as really poor by the government. That's what Title I means.
Got it.
Really hard. A lot of you could sing the woes of inner city kids all day. But she was teaching that. Found it very rewarding, very, very rewarding to help all these kids. However, it's very draining. Very takes a lot out of you to do that kind of teaching. And she said, you know what? I think maybe I want to quit teaching. It's too hard. And I said, you're really good at teaching. You really love it. You've liked it the last 6 years. It's just this 1 year is really bad. So why don't we do something to make it easier, make it better, take a break, move schools, do something. If you want to stay a teacher, right? But you went to school for it. You've always loved it. It's just this year in particular, there's lots of issues, whatever. Let's maybe take a break. She said, okay, like what kind of break should we take? I said, well, we could have kids, because like we're married in late 20s, and like we're kind of wanting to have kids at some point. Like now's maybe a good opportunity. And she said, I don't know if I want to have kids yet. I said, well, like why? Why not? She said, well, I want to do something big, crazy, and audacious before we have kids together. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm listening. I'm listening. Okay. Like what? And she said, let's travel for a while. I'll take a sabbatical year. So a sabbatical is like a break. You can, as a public school teacher, one of the benefits, you can take
a year-long sabbatical.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's unpaid, of course. No benefits, no pay, no anything. But they guarantee your job back when you come back.
That's huge. Yeah.
Which is huge, because then you can kind of like go do something knowing that you're going to have that safety net to come back to, that job, those benefits, that pension, that whatever it is, right? And so I was like, let's do it. So we ended up we're talking. Of course, these conversations happened over like 8 weeks. This wasn't like an afternoon talk, right?
Yeah.
And we decided, you know what, let's do a fun summer in San Diego, because San Diego is a very like beachy, fun city, right? And then we'll travel for 8 months. We don't know where yet. Maybe Southeast Asia, maybe Central America, Central South America. But and then we'll come back after 6-8 months, and then we'll do the summer in San Diego again, right? It sounds like a nice year, right?
Yeah.
And like, okay, cool, let's do it. 8 months. Yeah, that sounds good. And then I started reading about these long-term travel hacks.
Yeah.
And I found this little tax loophole. This is for U.S. citizens. So I don't know how many people are U.S. citizens who listen to this, but it's might be something similar in your country as well. All the countries kind of have their own little take on all these little rules, right?
Yeah.
If you travel for 12 months or for 11 months, really, they call it the 330-day rule, 330.
330-day rule. Okay.
If you travel for 330 days inside of a year, right? So 330 out of 365. And it can start anytime you want, August, February, whatever, right? You don't have to pay taxes. Zero taxes. And then to the US government. And then if you live in any one country for less than 30 days, every country is different, but 30 days is you always get 30 days for free, right? Every country has their own little tweak on it. Some are 6 months, some are 90 days, some are 31 days, right? If you live anywhere for less than 30 days, you're a tourist. You don't pay income tax when you're a tourist. All super duper legal. I had 3 accountants look over my plan and a proper lawyer look over my full plan. So here's the deal. Here's the thing. Here's the tax code. Here's the whatever. And they all said, yes, you can do it. Also, by the way, I'm not an accountant or a lawyer, so don't take my advice. This is my personal story, not advice to you, because there's lots of liability issues in the United States about talking about like giving legal advice. So I'm not doing that. And we traveled. We ended up going to 32 countries inside of 12 months.
That's crazy. That's
tax-free.
Yeah. And at the same time, you're building your Amazon business.
Yes. Yeah. So guess what? When you sell stuff on the internet, you don't have to be in a certain place. You can go anywhere you want to be. And you can go places where the cost of living is much lower, and you can live a relatively lavish lifestyle in a nice villa, taking taxis, having food delivered to you, having kind of this sort of nice lifestyle, really nice, kind of do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want lifestyle, especially when you go to a low cost of living area, and you can still run your business doing that.
That's incredible. And what were some of your favorite destinations in the 30 over countries that you've been to?
I never made it to Singapore. So unfortunately, I would say Singapore, since you're based in Singapore, right? But I never made it there, unfortunately.
It's Singapore is definitely not a low cost country by any means, but yeah, it's a great place to visit.
I love Taiwan. I was shocked at how much I loved Taiwan. Just really clean, really nice people, really very, very different from what I'm used to in the United States.
Yeah.
It really has that very Eastern, culture. Yeah. But it's still like it's modern. and Eastern, and the food is just like amazing and so different than America. And the people are so nice and it's so clean. I just love Taiwan.
What were some of your learnings or takeaways from kind of being in the corporate? How many years were you in the corporate world?
6.
So
yeah,
6-ish, and you've been building your business for 6-ish as well.
About 6-ish. Yeah.
That's a big milestone. Given that you have about the same years of experience in both sides of the coin, both sides of the world, which very few entrepreneurs actually have. What are the key differences, the good, the bad, the ugly of being an entrepreneur and having a lifestyle like yours?
Yeah. So the two things, I think the two core differences. That's a great question. Actually, I've never been asked that question. So the two core differences, the corporate world is boring and stable.
Boring and stable.
Many people enjoy stability. And it's great. Stability helps you pay mortgages. Stability helps you raise kids. Stability helps you, grow roots in your community. So that's good. That's good, right? But it's boring. Great. Yeah. And so entrepreneurship is complete opposite. Again, you can remove those roots, assuming you're location independent. You can remove those roots a little bit. Although I still live in San Diego and love it. I have lots of roots here, lots of friends and stuff. So you can also have roots, right? But entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. You have ups and downs, and the elation you get from making a big sale or getting through a big Christmas season or seeing that 40% year over year growth, like the thrill you get from that is just incredible. But then, and I feel it even though I'm pretty even keel, pretty mild mannered person, I get like this excitement on Tuesday when we review the P&L. And then I get this dread on Thursday when I get the stupid bill for the container, or the listing gets pulled down, or the employee leaves, or whatever it is. There's just like this up and down.
Oh yeah.
But I like to say, yes, it's a roller coaster, but just like roller coasters, you should just they go up and they go down, and that's part of the advantage of them, right? Because otherwise you're just like in a car. Cars are boring, right? Yeah. Roller coaster going up and down. The only people who get hurt on roller coasters are the ones who get out halfway.
Ooh, that's a great analogy. I love that.
So as long as if you just enjoy the ups and downs, strap in, hold on tight, enjoy the ride. Yeah. Otherwise, and wait till it's done. Wait till it's done. Otherwise, you'll get hurt if you jump off halfway.
I got one more for you. So Andrew, this is something I've heard quite recently, actually. And the metaphor, the analogy of entrepreneurship being like a roller coaster, right? Mm-hmm. It's true. And what's even more true is that people get on the ride to enjoy the ride for the ride's sake, and not for its destination.
I love that.
Not to not wait for its end. So I guess learn to enjoy the journey, the ups and the downs, and the loops and all the craziness that comes with it.
Yeah, sometimes you're upside down, right? Loop to loop. You gotta hold on.
Lots of the time.
So the ups and downs, again, so if you just should try to enjoy it. It's scary though. It's still hard. So like it's okay. If it's a struggle, if it's hard, if it's scary, it can be, and it kind of sucks. And sometimes maybe you get on the smaller roller coaster instead of the really big one, right? Yeah. So that's a big one. The second one is the no guarantee on income, which again goes two ways, right?
Yeah.
I found, and for me so far, it's been the good one, right? The good way, right? So far, but there's always ups and downs, right? But the thing I found I struggled with is when I was in the corporate world, I would do as hard as I can, work as hard as I can, try to network, try to give as much value, try to deliver, try to come in early and stay late and do everything I could. And you get rewarded for that, kind of. You get your bonus, and the bonus is maybe like $5,000, $10,000 at the end of the year, right? But kind of everyone gets at least 3,000 or 5,000, at least in the corporate world I was in. Everyone kind of gets a 3,000 to 5,000. If you're doing really good, you're doing like a $5,000 to $10,000 bonus. And I'm like doing the math, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. I put in an extra 10 or 15 hours a week for the last year, and my bonus was basically $5,000 more. I'm doing the math. I'm like, wait, 10 times 10 to 15 times 50 weeks a year, 500 hours at 5,000. That's like $10 an hour. Is that right? Or $10 an hour. And I'm like, no, those are the hardest hours, like the late hours and the early hours and the long. Those are the hardest hours. That sucks. Yeah. And so when I went to to ask my boss for a raise or this or that, you have to just like go in and ask. And I asked a lot. So more often said no. But then I say like, why? And they say, oh, because your market rate, your commodity, your skill set is here. Your levels of your education is here. Your skill set is here. We can bump you up an extra $1,000 a year, but you're not going to get extra 10,000, an extra 20,000 or 60,000 or $200,000 a year. The business, no one says that. No one says, oh, I've decided that your salary should be lower. No one says that in a business. Yeah. Right. So you have that potential for a much higher salary. Which for me, again, the ups and downs of the roller coaster, I enjoy that. I love having that upside there.
The higher variance, higher rewards, higher risk and higher rewards.
Yep.
And Andrew, when do you start your podcast, the ZonCon podcast?
Mm-hmm.
When
did I start it? Oh, actually, I started it while I was on the road, while I was traveling around.
And why? Why do you start the podcast?
I just love talking shop. I love talking about Amazon. I love talking about growing businesses. I love talking about how to get started. I love talking about how to grow a business. We focus on six-figure and seven-figure Amazon sellers, but still have a lot of like outside of Amazon content too. I just like talking about it. I just really enjoy it. I figured like a podcast is like a fun way to meet people.
It is.
I also, this is a great example right here. I met you, Josh.
This is a great example. Yeah.
Yeah. And you get a little bit more social, or not social, like what do you call it? Credit in the community. I've always loved communities. I love having groups of people that we can all come together and do things together and just enjoy each other's presences, but also learn from each other, right? So you get a lot of smart people.
Another. Yeah, it's big. Who are some of the most interesting guests that you've had on the show?
I got really good response from my wife coming on the show. Because she told some stories about me, and then also she talked about traveling, right? So that was kind of like that was kind of people. I got like that was the most comments I got from anybody, So like that one was kind of a fluke though, or no, I mean it was a great interview, but like that's like a special interview, right? In terms of like the best kind of my number one interview, I think, is with Justin Dyson. Justin Dyson has this incredible story where he was in college for a year or two and he was pursuing engineering degree or like maybe he was in a coding boot camp or something. He was in some sort of like kind of technical thing.
Right.
Didn't like it that much. And then his wife got pregnant. He was only 20 at the time. Got pregnant, and so he had to quit school to take care of the baby, right, to make an income and stuff. And so he ended up doing a few things, and then kind of stumbling into Amazon. And then first product was a fail, but then he ended up like hitting it hard, and he was in the baby niche. based on his baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they grew the business and just has this methodical. Justin's just so smart. He's this methodical, like stick-to-itiveness, right?
Yep.
Built up the business, and then he recently exited for a multi-seven-figure exit.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then he celebrated his 30th birthday, like a month after he exited. So all that from like 20 to 30, right?
Yeah.
And so now he actually, I'm inside the Titan network, which is a mastermind for e-com private label sellers, and he's one of the coaches with me in that. And Justin Dyson's like one of my heroes. I want to be him when I grow up, even though he's like a year younger than me. So
I love that. That's a good one. Well, talking about strategies and tactics. We spoke a little bit before hitting record. Etsy. We have a lot of Shopify brand owners listening to this show. And a lot of people in my network and our clients as well. Getting started on Etsy, it seems like a black box. The TOS, I'm not too clear about what's happening there. And I don't think a lot of people are really talking about Etsy being a potential sales channel. Who's it for?
Yeah,
what's the process?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just gave a talk on this. So Etsy is near and dear to my heart. And just in case anybody doesn't know, Etsy is ETSY.com. I think most people have heard about it in the e-com space, but it's like it's originally for handmade products. That was it was kind of like your aunt who knits would make like a hat and sell it on there, right? Like a little special cap, right? I know the first time I heard about Etsy, it was a big thing like 10 or 15 years ago. I used to live in Colorado where it's really cold, and people would knit these hats, and you put a snow cap, right? I mean, you don't have snow in Singapore, right?
No, not even close.
Okay.
It's hot and humid all year long, but yeah.
Those of us who have lived in cold climates, you have a cap that's made of yarn, right? And it was a hot product for like, this is 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
The cap had a beard, like kind of built into it.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a yarn beard, right? Yeah. It's just silly. Because actually it's functional because it warms your face, but it's also just kind of silly because like, especially when like a girl wears it, right? She has her cap on and then has the beard. It's just kind of funny, right? That was a hot thing on Etsy. And so people like hand knit those things. You can custom order them and they're relatively affordable because it's kind of like some lady in her living room making it, right?
Yeah.
That's how it started out. Right. And it's still like that in a lot of ways. But Etsy went public a couple of years ago.
They did, yeah.
They're a big company now. They're really big. Now, not nearly as big as Amazon, not nearly as big as Walmart.com, stuff like that. But they loosen their rules quite a bit. And it's a big thing I found with a lot of private label people. They don't know that actually it is likely that they actually probably can sell on Etsy. I'm going to pull up my notes just so I don't misspeak on this, on exactly how to set up.
And while you do that, Etsy is a huge platform. They have 500 million unique visits per month. And I think they're pretty internationalized as well. Based on what I'm seeing on SimilarWeb, about 60% of their traffic comes from the US, and the rest of which come from pretty much all over the world. So, including Singapore.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a big website.
Yeah, Amazon doesn't publish the revenue they generate from Amazon.com because they also have the AWS, right? They have the server thingy. So we don't know exactly how much money they make. But most people think that about half the revenue comes from Amazon.com. And so that means that they are making about $200 billion revenue on Amazon. Etsy last year made $5 billion. So in comparison, it's about 2 to 3% the size of Amazon.
Yeah.
Which again, Amazon is ginormous. So being 2% the size of Amazon is actually really big. Great.
Yeah.
And then also, and the big thing too, though, is that that's overall, but in your niche, it actually might be 10 times that size. If you're in arts and craft, if you are in home organization, if you're in pets, if you're in office supplies, if you're in apparel, a lot of these things are especially custom design apparel, like the print on demand stuff is huge on Etsy. Those spaces are a lot bigger than that average 2%, right? Now, some niches don't work very well. Like you don't buy like cleaning supplies on Etsy, right?
Yeah.
Or like a plastic workout pull-up bar, like some of the stuff just doesn't work on Etsy, right? But for those niches that do sell on Etsy, and for those private labels who are in that space, the big thing, you are considered handmade. This is the killer one. Okay, if you're taking notes at home, write this one down. You are considered you are considered handmade and therefore eligible for Etsy if you make a custom design. Anything custom.
Okay.
Now, what doesn't count as custom? Branding and packaging does not count as custom design.
Okay.
So if you take something that already exists and put it into a new box, that doesn't count. Also kitting, which like combining things together in a box. So you take like a back scratcher and a hair comb and put it in the same box. That's not considered a new design. That's just a new combo, right? And then generally drop shippers and wholesalers usually don't work well on Etsy. So that's who doesn't. However, who can sell is anybody with a new design. You can mass produce it though. That's the key to a lot of the private label models, is that most of it's mass produced, right?
Yeah.
Or at least my understanding, at least the spaces I'm in, it's mostly designs, mass produced, and then, sold online, right? So mass production is totally fine. The only thing you have to do on Etsy is you have to declare where it's from. You have to show how it was designed, or kind of how and who designed it, how it's built, why it's built that way, and then just declare it. They're all about transparency. They're huge print on demand, which I mentioned earlier. So any type of like custom design on shirts or on canvas bags or coffee mugs, whatever it is, all that stuff is huge on Etsy. So all these things, they can be made from machines. You'd think handmade would mean literally someone sitting there and like
sewing, right, piece by piece.
But no, they can be made by machines as long as that design is new and unique.
As long as the design is new and unique. That's interesting, because I'm looking at the categories on Etsy, and I'm seeing things that are pretty huge on Shopify, like skincare, hair care, bath accessories, makeup and cosmetics, like you mentioned, apparel. Pretty much all the major categories that you see on Shopify are available on Etsy as well. That's really interesting.
Yeah, honestly, so I actually didn't look into that. That's a good question. A new formula for supplements or for beauty. I would guess that would be TOS compliant, terms of service compliant. I don't know though, but I mean, it's new and custom, so I would expect that to be eligible.
That would definitely worth a look. Etsy. Aside from that, so I understand that, Andrew, you have a brand that you have a number of brands. You have a couple of Amazon brands. You're also building brands outside of Amazon. Correct me if I'm wrong. What have you seen are some of the mistakes that non-Amazon sellers make when they try to bring their brand onto Amazon and build, kind of a new sales channel for their business?
Great question. It's tricky. They're pretty different, unfortunately, right? The big thing is positioning. So if you have a product that sells well on your site and you have that avatar who you can talk to and communicate with and you understand them really well, often you can kind of like upsell, cross sell, and remarket to them, right? My understanding is that that's kind of the majority, like a large chunk is like getting, kind of gaining traffic and then remarketing to them. Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't do that on Amazon. You really can't remarket. There's some ways you can like do this and that, and you can pull it out. You can have some inserts. There's a bunch of different ways you can, but Amazon kind of against the rules on Amazon. Yeah. So that's really tricky. But so unfortunately that strategy doesn't work. So what does work is positioning yourself inside the market and ranking for keywords on Amazon search. And you have to, if you type, there's ways to do like they call reverse ASIN search, which is might be getting too technical, but like there's a way you can take your competitors, put them into a tool, and then pull out the keywords they're ranking for, and then you can put those in your listing. And you can also launch to them. You can target those keywords and you do a certain launch technique, and then you'll rank for those keywords. And that's really where you get is that organic rank on Amazon is really where all the profit is made. Number one. Yeah. But if you're going to rank, how do you position yourself? Like, because yoga mats are really, really competitive.
Exactly.
But you're hyper niche. Yoga mats for middle-aged women with cats. I don't know, something like that, like very hyper niche.
Okay.
That might be a keyword that you can focus on.
Right. And how do you begin to start kind of the research process around keywords that you can position your product for?
Yeah, I use a tool called Helium 10. It's kind of like the standard tool inside of the Amazon space. It's really, really powerful. If you want, you can use my coupon code, which is for my podcast is on CON10. We'll get you 10% off for the rest of your life. No cost to you, of course, or reduced cost to you, I should say. Great tool. It's really like the industry standard for Amazon, for anybody who's on the Amazon space. And it's like crazy cheap. It's like $40 or $30 a month or something for kind of or it's freemium, right? You get the first 10 searches for free or whatever. And then the first tier is really affordable. So if you're just thinking about it, just try it out. It's like crazy good, right? So how do you find keywords for your listing? Was that the question? Yeah.
Correct.
So there's this thing called reverse ASIN search. And what that is, an ASIN, again, getting a little technical on the terms, but I make sure everyone understands all the technical terms. So ASIN is like the unique code, the special ID for each listing. Every single listing on Amazon has an ASIN. Right. ASIN is Amazon specific. I don't know, whatever. It's something
identifier. Yeah. Has to be.
But the ASIN, you just take that ASIN, that unique ID, put it into the Helium 10 tool. It's called Cerebro. Is there like the tool inside of their tool set? Put it in there, and it just tells you every single keyword they're ranking for. And then it tells you where they're ranked too. And then you can also put up to 10 inside the tool. So grab your 10 competitors, and these are direct competitors, the ones that are like these are the guys you're like neck and neck with, right? Yeah. Maybe it's only 3, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 100, but you can only put 10 in there, up to 10, right? And you just look at all the keywords that they're all ranking for, and those are the keywords that you pick as well. And sometimes you can find a little gem where maybe only 2 of them are ranking for a keyword that's really relevant, so it's really relevant, which means they should be ranking for it, but they're not. Right. There's good search volume. Helium 10 also tells you the search volume. And then you can target that keyword and you can become number 1 or at least top 3 in that keyword space. And then that's a great way to get extra sales. That then you're kind of like you're not in such a competitive term. Yeah. And of course you can do that times 1,000. Find all the keywords that are kind of like medium competition and target those ones.
Andrew, that was amazing. That was a masterclass alone. I'm sure there's a lot more to just that, but if people are interested to learn more about Amazon and to connect with you, where should they go to?
Sure. Oh, and I forgot another thing about Etsy too. Before we dive into everything. So there's a tool that just came out called Betsy, which sounds like best of Etsy. Betsy, Betsy, right? It's on the Chrome store. Just type in Betsy. So Etsy with a B in front, right?
Right.
And there's a Chrome tool that shows you all the sales volume on Etsy. It shows you like last sold volume, last sold date, and the reviews and stuff like that. So if you want to check it out, you can at least kind of see how much volume there is in your niche. So check it out. It's on the Chrome store. It's free. Helium 10's great. And then my podcast is a great way if you want to hear more stuff like this. The Amazon Conversations podcast. We shorten that down to the ZonCon podcast. And we just talk about building brands, building lifestyle, basically an interview like this every week. And then I'm also inside the Titan Mastermind, which is a space for elite Amazon sellers. And we have meetings every week to basically talk about this kind of stuff, the tactical stuff every week.
Beautiful. Andrew, thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate it. This is fun.
Thanks for listening to the E-Commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.